Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Chalk Talk here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel and DKPittsburghSports.com. Steelers get a big win over the Bengals in Cincinnati to improve to 9-3 on the season. And Russell Wilson, 414 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pick that was definitely not his fault. 126.4 pass rating, a great game for him. There's a lot of different things that I could break down from this game because I really wanted to focus on Russ. It's been a while since I've really focused on Russ, but there was one part of this, and I only have 2 plays here, so this isn't going to be a long video. But this is a big thing that I think is going to help the Steelers moving forward because it seemed like for a while that George Pickens was the only one that he was able to connect with when it came to these type of situations, which of course is when Russ is extending the play. And that is going to happen. Russell Wilson likes to break from the pocket. When he does that, he keeps his eyes downfield. He wants to make throws outside the pocket before tucking and running. He's not that guy anymore. He doesn't have the speed or the athleticism to be able to just run and take off and get a lot of yards. It's not Justin Fields back there either. He wants to make throws. Guys have to be able to break off routes, find space, get open, give him easy answers. Pat Freiermuth did a phenomenal job of this, and like I said, just 2 plays here, but just goes to show that to see this on film is an encouraging sign because you want to look for ways for Pat Freiermuth to get more involved. Obviously, with the play design, that's a good thing, but for the fact that 2 of his catches in this game were in this circumstance that's an encouraging sign to me. So here we go. First play. Steelers are run here. It looks like it's 4 verticals, but also number 2 up top looks like running some sort of dig. But Russ obviously escapes, gets pressure, and he finds Freiermuth down below on the bottom half of the screen. I don't know what that is. I don't know what he's trying to fake or not, but that's the easy pitch and catch there. But how did we get there? So, again, this looks like it's just, a vertical route and then a vertical route here. That's all it really looks like. It looks like this is a vertical route. And then Calvin comes out here, and then he starts to kind of come across in this direction. And so, let it play there. Okay, he hits his back foot, and I don't know what this is here, this little shiver right there that he kind of gives. I don't know if he sees all this open space and thinks I can just take off and run. And maybe back in his heyday he could, but I think it looks like he might just be second guessing that. So he will eventually just break out of the pocket. And these guys are running verticals. Now, the one thing that I've been seeing is that guys will just continue to run their routes or they'll just stop and stand still. That does nothing. Right? And so you can see right here, Pat, he has his eyes turned back around to look at the quarterback. And as we move forward here, he sees, oh, okay, let me stop. Let me not only stop, let me come back to him. So it's not just let me stop. It's let me break away. Where do I have leverage? Okay, I have outside leverage. Let me break away and also start making my way back toward him a bit. And Russ already kind of sees that Pat starts breaking off. So by the time Pat breaks off, look at when Russ, he reacts immediately because he starts to break, right there. He's throwing. And Pat had just really broken off of his route. That's anticipation from Russ of keeping his eyes downfield, seeing what his receivers are doing, and that's a phenomenal job by Pat Freiermuth to break off of this vertical route, break off of it, come back to the ball, give Russ an option, easy pitch and catch, convert on 3rd down. That is something that more receivers have not been doing. George Pickens has done it pretty consistently. Russ here gets out. He needs an answer. And look, again, that's a great job of Pat of, I have outside leverage. Let me break to the outside. It's not my regular route. And, look at all that space. That's an easy pitch and catch right there. That's good stuff. The next one's even better. And not just because it was a touchdown, but it's how they got there. Russ Cincinnati ends up dropping 8 back in coverage. It looks like some sort of Tampa 2. But this right here, I'll let you see the end zone view too, but this right here is phenomenal stuff from Pat. Obviously, it's a great job by Russ of extending, and no way should he be going to the ground due to contact with only 3 guys rushing. But, it happens. But, okay, so here it looks like the 2 outside. Now, I don't know exactly what George is doing, but it looks like they're running like this, kind of corner, these, like, I forget the actual term for them, but it's that route right there. And it looks like we got a quick out to this side, and then Pat looks like he's coming back and just running that little hook right there. And so you get that. Look, Pat, okay, so there you go. Like he's already getting out of his break there. Pat turns around. He's at that hook spot. These routes end up going, it's supposed to go to the outside. George ends up getting tangled up here instead. I don't know what the heck's going on. But look at Pat have his eyes back to the quarterback and watch his reaction. I'm going to play this real slow. So he sees this guy is like right in Russ's lap, and so Russ moves up. But look what Pat starts doing. Pat sees all of this open space right here. All of that open space. Now, like I said, I think the Bengals are in a Tampa 2 here because, this guy is deep here. This guy is deep here. And then this guy right here, he's just kind of playing back and almost playing like this zone back here. So it looks like a Tampa 2 to me. But as soon as Russ starts to break out of the pocket there, Pat is already on the move to go find green grass. And he goes and he settles. So he sees zone coverage. That's another thing with Pat is that, if you're playing man, obviously, if the defense is playing man, it's just all about beating the man. But if you're playing against zone, it's about finding the soft spots, finding the zones, finding this space right here. That is huge. And Pat finds it, goes and gets in it. And he doesn't even get that much deeper. Like by the time, so his curl stops right there at the 20, and he goes and he starts to kind of turn around about 5 yards further down the field. And Russ is, throwing it there. And by that point, Pat's wide open. This safety right here, he's more zeroed in on that corner route. This safety obviously sees the play going to this side, but he, is still responsible for this deep half of the field, so he can't really move from it. This is just, this is bad defense here by Cincinnati. You got all these guys. You cannot leave, if you're Cincinnati, a hole this big in your defense. You just can't, especially dropping 8 back in coverage. That's terrible defense. And good on Pat for finding that spot. Russ hits him. Again, easy pitch and catch, but then all that extra room, he's able to go get in the end zone. Phenomenal job to see Pat, he's a smart football player. He understands and knows where to go, where to find the empty space. And I haven't seen as much of this. Not saying it hasn't been there. There have definitely been times where Pat's been open, and it hasn't happened. And I think a game like this will give Russ and Pat extra confidence. And I asked Mike Tomlin during his Tuesday press conference, do they carve out time to work on this kind of stuff, on the improvisation, on scramble drills? And he said it typically happens naturally during practice, but he said if it doesn't happen naturally enough, then I'll create circumstances so it's there. So this is an emphasis of the Steelers is being able to improvise, because they know, and Mike Tomlin said that big plays come from this kind of stuff, and this is what we saw, in this game. We saw this, and so going forward, if you're going to beat the Josh Allens and the Patrick Mahomeses of the league, you got to be able to find different ways to create explosive plays, and this is one way to do it. Get outside the pocket, make the defense play out of structure, and find ways to get open. Pat giving Russ options there, that's a huge thing. So this isn't overly complicated stuff, 2 plays, but still, this is the kind of stuff that adds more to an offense. You want to be able to play within the structure of the offense? Absolutely, you have to, and Russ did a phenomenal job of that in this game. But these type of plays right here, this is the kind of stuff that helps put offenses over the top and makes them that much more dangerous when they can do stuff on top of what they can already do in structure. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next week after the Steelers play the Browns. Hopefully we can avoid a snowstorm, because I didn't do a Chalk Talk video off of that because pretty much half of the game, the All-22, was almost unusable because of the snowstorm. So hopefully we can avoid that. The weather looks fine for this Sunday. And then we'll be back next week with another version of Chalk Talk. So until then, catch you on the flippity flip. See you later.